Welcome, everyone. This is Fonduu, and you're listening to LOTRO Players News, where we take a look at the latest news in LOTRO and here at LOTRO Players. And this week we have with us Terry Adwin,
Hi, hi.
Sanswinda,
Hello.
Calabathian,
Yay!
and visiting us from the Jurassic Keosaurus.
This is where you say hello.
I think we
Am I
lost.
muted?
Okay.
Oh, there you are.
No. Oh, no, I said something, but apparently it didn't come through. Doobie Carr.
Then let's go and let's have a look at what our week was like this week for our news, and there was nothing as you would expect on this last week, the Christmas week, because Standing Stone Games was off for the holidays. No Lotro
I
Beacon.
mean,
What?
that's probably a good sign, considering that they
Yeah,
were
no
off for
news
the
is good
holidays.
news.
Yeah.
Nothing disastrous happened.
Yes, that they didn't have to be called in or anything like that on the last minute. I guess you get a point there. So yeah, so therefore we have no special news this week, but we do have our usual sales. But before we go into that, we need to ask Key to tell us about how she got introduced to Tolkien, to Lotro, and to the Lotro community.
Well, hello. My introduction to Tolkien actually, lots of the books on my list for a long time, and then I hate to say it, but the movies were really what got me to read the books. I wanted to read them before the movies came out. So I did. So, I read them probably in 1999 when they announced the movies initially, and
It's
hooked
been that long?
immediately. Yeah,
It's been
yeah. So
No, no, no,
yes,
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 no,
really,
yeah,
not no, 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 no,
really.
no, no,
yeah.
no. La
Published
la 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 la.
around
I can't. I'm on mute you now.
2001. Yeah,
No.
and so I'm a huge fan of fantasy and high fantasy and epic fantasy, and so it just clicked with me. I didn't expect it to click, and so since then I have read the Lord of the Rings every year, at least once a year. So that was my introduction to Tolkien. My introduction to Lotro is kind of funny. So a friend of mine had tried to get me into the game when it first launched. I mean, he was at game launch playing, but the way he sold it to me was, Kim, you could roll a habit and then you can farm pipeweed. I said, "Oh, okay." And he was just he loved the crafting and the farming, and he did a ton of it. And that was how he tried to sell me on the game. And I thought, yeah, I don't know. At the time I was playing World of Warcraft. So I was, and you're kind of in the throes of a game and really hook it's really hard to pull you away. And farming tobacco was not going to do it for me. So so it wasn't until the Hobbit movies came out and a friend started playing in 2013 and convinced me to start playing. And so, um, and I got to tell you, farming is the one crafting I really don't enjoy. So I'm glad I didn't cry with him because I would have been, I can't even imagine what farming must have been way back then.
Oh
So
boy.
I'm sure torturous, right? So, yeah, so I
Yeah, it's
started
not good
playing.
as it is now. It was worse.
Oh, oh, yeah, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I absolutely would have walked away from the game and never come back. So, I'm glad I didn't try farming tobacco with him, back then, and, but, so 2013 started playing and, have had some, short breaks here and there as real life has come in, but, yeah, played pretty consistently, and, mostly dwarves. So, that was the other thing about Lord of the Rings that really drew me in with Tolkien is um, even back in World of Warcraft days, I had all dwarves. I've just always been a huge fan of the mystery around dwarves, the crafting, their very unique lifestyle, and their aesthetic, just kind of drawing from a lot of Celtic roots was really appealing to me, and the Scottish accents, and I just love everything about dwarves, and so um, just really getting into all of that and getting all that backstory throughout the appendices and things was totally my jam.
Right? Anything else? How did you get in
And the
contact with the
community.
LOTRO community?
Um, you mean the community at
Yeah.
large? Twitter for sure. Um,
And girls.
started and girls. Well, it started before girls because girls is like relatively recently as far as like what. Gosh, how long has girls been around? 3 years, 4 years?
Something
It's
like
been
that.
3 years for sure. I
It's
don't
I
know if
think
it's
so,
been
yeah.
four. But I started. In fact, I was one of the early people on Corey's podcast back in 2013 or 2013, 2014, who was talking about Lotro and got him and Maven interested in trying it. Um, because I was tuning into his podcast to learn more about the dwarves and more backstory as he was going through the Hobbit movies and all the trailers and things like that. So that was so getting into that part of the community through Mythgard, and then definitely Twitter, connecting with other people, and actually live journal was still a thing. And a friend and I ran a live journal that was all about Lotro cosmetics. And so we would do comparison of she ran a hobbit, I ran a dwarf, so we would do like how different cosmetics looked between the two body types. So we did a lot of that, and yeah, so that was Cable Knit Dragon actually, who was part of Girls for probably I think 2 years.
Mhm.
Yep.
All right. Anything
Oh,
else?
and no, but it is coming back to me that we rolled on Withywindle, which is one of the servers that was merged and is no more. But I do remember when we started playing, we were not aware we're on the European server, and so when we would log in after work at the end of the day, it was like 11 or 12 o'clock in Europe, and so we were like, "There's nobody ever in this game. There's hardly anybody playing." And then on the weekends, there would be a ton of people, and it took us a while because the servers used to not be labeled. Um, I still remember when they started labeling the servers, and we said, "Okay." So that explained a lot. So yeah,
Think I
because
found the problem.
there was a website where you could go and find out where you'd have to look on this website to see which servers were U.S. and which were European. And we weren't aware of that. So Withywindle just sounded like a cool word. So, you know, we just picked that one. So, yeah. Yeah. Noob,
Whoops.
noob problems, right?
Yes. Uh,
That's how I totally pick the neighborhood for my houses. That I want to do is okay, which of these neighborhoods sounds the coolest? So, choosing your server that way is legitimate, that in my eyes. So I'm not gonna hate.
yes. Yeah, back when I started playing, it was impossible to accidentally choose the European server because they were on a completely different management and account system.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, wow. So I don't want to detract too much, but when did you start playing?
Let's see. What anniversary is
We're coming up on 13.
we're coming
His hard drive was carved out of stone.
no no
Yeah, yeah. Pine Leaf's a lifer.
yeah, it's well, I joined a couple of months after the game officially launched.
Oh my goodness. So you were farming tobacco back in the old days.
Well,
Yeah, he knows exactly how horrible it was to farm.
well, I was well, it's more like farming cabbages and carrots and mushrooms.
Okay.
Especially consider the number of characters, which I don't think it was maybe as true as much then, but usually I'm a yeoman, so yeah, farming carrots and mushrooms and the like.
Okay.
and the
Yeah, I
occasional grain.
suspected you'd been around for quite some time.
Yeah, right.
Tripping
Beans,
on your
greens,
beard and
potatoes,
everything.
tomatoes.
Right. Anything else?
Nope, that's all I can. That's all that's coming to mind as far as Lotro. And
All right. Then let's head into our store sales for this week. And Terry, what's on sale?
Well, our weekly coupon gets you a simple rally horn with the coupon code RallyHorn now through December 31st. This is our final week for Yule savings, and they've got 35% off crafting carryalls, which is awesome. 50% off Valars, we'll get to that later, and 75% off the Farinorian pack. And for regular store sales, we've got 30% off the milestone skills, hurried and returning traveler, advanced riding traits, and rally horns. So, get your journeyman riding, get your hurried returning, and it doesn't mention the other traveler skill. There's another traveler skill, and I don't remember what it's called.
Expedient, maybe? I don't
Yeah,
remember for sure.
but you can get all your cooldowns to 5 minutes, which is fantastic.
Yes, that last one. What's it called? Get there really fast is what it's called. Pretty much.
Really fast. Yes. And that's pretty much it for our news this week. So how about asking about Moors? I was wondering if, Key, you could talk to us about how it's like to play a Freep in the Moors.
um, a lot better at level 130 than it was at I don't double digits when I didn't really understand. Um, I was talking a little earlier how my main Farrar, who is a guardian, um, I really didn't know what I was doing, so I just went out the front doors as a freak, and they've been camped forever, so I had no idea. I think the joke was that I stuck a toe out and I died instantly. I got one shotted, and never went back. Nope. And so, I was a little nervous rolling a rune keeper because if you're a guardian going out on the moors, rune keeper. I joke about being a delicate flower, but little bit, and but it was a really fun experience. Very different than the first time. But had great friends. We had a lot of fun. So to me, the PvP is all about it's your mindset. You have to go PvP with people who play the way that you want to play, and for me that is just having fun. And of course I want to try to stay alive. It's not fun if you're constantly being killed, but the most important thing is to have fun. And we had just a great group of personalities, and everybody was out there to have fun, but also figuring out how our different classes work together was really it was great. I mean, we just we went out, we struggled for like one encounter and then a little bit more. And then by the end, we just had it down. We had come up with our methodology for, how we're going to handle different things. And I was a little nervous because I am used to tanking and I have tank mentality, run in first, ask questions later. And aggro all the things. I'm used to going in beast mode. So I had to, really think about pulling back. It's important for me to stay alive, not so much for the fun aspect, but the longer I'm alive, the longer everybody else gets to be alive. It didn't help that we had, or sorry, it didn't hurt that we had a Beorning helping out, but I have never solo healed. And so I was a little sweating it a little bit. I won't lie. Um, and I knew everybody would be understanding if something bad something had gone wrong, or I made mistakes that caused, people to die. You don't want to do that. It's going to happen though when you're new. But I felt great because I had a really supportive team. So being part of that kind of environment, that is gaming for me. That's what I love. That's when I'm having the most fun. And I think it just kind of resonated with the group. That's what it's all about.
All right. How do you find the moors for the free site these days?
You know, it was interesting, because I've only played Creepside before, so I've played a spider
Hmm.
and a war leader and a warg. And so it was interesting to be thinking about. So I knew what skills those three classes had, or those races, if you will. And so thinking about, okay, who we didn't encounter any of those three races, but I was thinking about, what would be the best way for me to shut these things down, and doing stuns and things like that. And I gotta say, one of the things I love about Lotro is you have the capacity to play a non-human, even playing a dwarf or a hobbit. You have a very different perspective. Like, I've played dwarves, 99% of my characters are dwarves. So when I play a tall character, it really does change your perspective on the game. Things look different. Even environments can look different, or other characters you're used to playing with look different. And so, it was kind of weird to be on the moors and not be like 2 feet off the ground as a warg or a spider. I do have to say that there were things that actually looked different. And I'm not saying dwarves are huge and super tall. They're not like high elves or anything, but it was very different. Also, it was very different to be mounting up. I'm used to just, disappear, you go into stealth, or, as a spider, oh no, here comes something, dig a hole, bury myself in this shrubbery or something like that, and try and hide until they go by. And there is none of that on a free. You're out there, there's no hiding. You've just got to take it face on. And that was very different. I felt, there were many times we all kind of joked, though, because I think everybody in the group runs a ward. We all kind of joked like, "Disappear, everybody, disappear!" Oh no, wait, we can't. Um,
And
but there was
no
a lot of
Bergs in
that.
the group.
No Bergs in our group.
Surprisingly,
No,
no.
no,
Okay.
yeah, that's right. We don't have any
Did
bergs in our group.
Did you feel too squishy as a level scaled 120 character on the moors?
I, it's hard to say because I hid behind two champions and a Beorning and a Guardian. And so it's very easy to feel like invincible, and that's what I kept trying to. I mean, I joked about being a delicate flower, but I did my best to try and stay in the mix. I know that, the creeps are going to come after the healer. I mean, that's what I would do. I would instantly, you want to take down the healer, especially if you get any sense that they're lower level or less experienced. Oh yes, take down the healer first. And I'm sure I was sure I glowed green, like newbie. We had the 120 gear on, so it was kind of like an advertisement, like come get us. Um,
And we weren't even anonymous for a while,
no,
so
yeah, yeah.
literally we were advertising.
The Telebathian and I didn't realize that who had forgot to check the
I
anonymous.
think
So we're just
almost
like,
all of us were not anonymous.
yeah. So it was kind of like, come at me, bro. I'm delicate, and I break easy, and so, but so it's hard to say. Did I feel myself? Yes, I felt very vulnerable, but I also felt like, again, there was that teamwork element, where I just had to. There was one time where, oh no, I'm gonna tell this though. Um, I'm used to tanking, so I'm used to chasing after somebody who's going, they're coming to get me, and they're running away from me. I'm going, come back. I can't aggro them if you are running them away from me or kiting them away. And I was that person last night. So I was running away. It's like, he's gonna kill me, he's gonna kill me. And here are all the tanks going, well, bring him back this way. And I just yep, yep, I'm like, okay, I get it, because it is kind of frustrating with a guardian. It's like, I can make all your problems go away if you just come this direction.
Oh,
And
even in the moors?
yeah,
Especially if you're
And
fighting NPCs, yeah.
Oh,
But
NPCs, yeah.
even if you're fighting uh player characters though, if you can get close to the tank, your problems are more likely to be solved.
yes,
Okay.
yes, yeah. And our guardian had a shield wall on me a couple of times too, which was hugely helpful, at least for me, probably not for her.
frustrate even player characters' attempts to kill the healer, though.
Ah,
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, when if I'm on a warg or if I'm on my spider, I'm going for the healer if if I can tell that I might have an opportunity to like even stun them or something and maybe prevent some heals or something. I mean, it's really difficult. Like minstrels are, they're out there and just practically invincible, especially like my warg is only rank 5. So, I'm not taking anyone down solo, but you might be able to do something that could have an impact.
anything else you wish to discuss?
Other than that, I've been just trying to do ale runs and finish off my starlit crystals. I've got so my dwarf guardian, I've got a one-handed and two-handed axe for him, and so I've got the two-handed axe is all starlit crystalled up, and so I'm probably 2/3 of the way on the one-handed axe, and then I've just got my belt to go. So hoping to finish those between this event and might wind up taking into the next event unless they extend the holiday event for any reason. But yeah, that's been the focus of me getting online and spending my time trying to get those crystals.
All right, then. Then let's head into our new player question. What's our question this week?
So our question this week: what is a saved UI and how does it work? Well, my favorite question. I love the saved UI because, as many else as I have, it saves me so much time setting things up. So you can basically your UI stands for user interface, which is the screen that you look at when you log into the game. It determines where your radar is, where your morale and power bars are, where the enemy's morale and power bars are. Anything that basically is on your screen is considered part of your user interface. This can also include some of your plugins. Um, and all of this is configurable. In fact, if you are in the game and you push, if you're on a PC and not a Mac, because I don't know what the Mac command for it is, but the PC command is control backslash, brings up the screen of like how much stuff you can move around, and you can move around a lot of stuff. I actually have a fairly customized UI because I've moved my morale and power bars around, and I move the enemies around, and I move all kinds of stuff around, and to avoid having to do that every single time I make a new alt, which unfortunately is fairly frequently for me. Um, they don't always get very far, but I make them anyway. Uh, so yeah, you can save your UI with a simple command, which is / UI space save, no, UI space layout space save space whatever name you want to call it, and then you load it with / UI space layout space load name of whatever. I typically stick with like default. Um, and that pops up. There's still some little bitty things that you have to customize. Like you have to reset up your chat tabs if you have chat tabs. Um, but the positioning of that window will go to where it belongs. Um, for me, it actually affects where my bags are, which is also really great. Because when you first make a new character, if you have more than just the single bag, they're kind of all over the screen. And I always drag those slots into the single bag, um, which is at a very specific size for me, so it's very square. Well, rectangle, because I don't like spaces hanging out extras. It bothers me. And then bags 2 through 5 are actually like stacked up on top of each other with 5 at the bottom, so I can just go through 5, 4, 3, 2, and it's really very very easy to do all of that. And so I can actually get my UI set up within about 5 minutes or so of work because it takes a minute to set the chat tabs. And then opening boxes is a whole other
Yeah,
animal.
I know.
But yeah,
Yeah. See,
it's a lifesaver basically is what the saved UI is.
yes. The saved UI, let me put it this way, whenever I start a character, before I talk to the whenever I talk to the character that starts you off in the tutorial, before I do that, I am loading up my UI in there so I don't have to play even that short amount of time. Sometimes when I go into a session play, I will go and load my UI so I don't have to go through the session play with the default UI on.
I actually have it set up for session plays too. I have a special one for session plays. It is similar to my main one, um, but actually it keeps some of the other stuff that I don't need in a session play typically completely out of the way. Like the chat window is smaller, um, and I use a different Titan bar because I don't need to keep track of anything. So I use the collapsible Titan bar instead of the it's out for the world to see all the time.
Okay.
Terry, can I ask a question as somebody who did not know about this feature until you mentioned it yesterday?
Sure.
Um, so you were talking about your bag storage. So is the way that you organize your bags, is that included in the UI? Is
Yeah.
it saved?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Well,
I thought
not
you were doing it.
necessarily like how stuff in there is organized, but
Right.
the shapes of them and where they are positioned on the screen is saved in your UI.
That is so great. I did not I never knew about this until you mentioned it yesterday, and I meant to follow up with you on it. So I'm glad you're talking about it today. And now I know the secret of how to get to it too, because that was my other thing is I thought it might be in options or something. So
No, it's just a simple key command.
awesome. Thank you.
Anyone else have anything to add relating to the saved UI? So I take it that we answered your question. So
Definitely.
Yep.
Thank you.
so let's head into our weekend LOTRO. And Calabathian, what were you up to?
Well, I'll be the first one to say it. We decided to do a bit of a science experiment.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, and here is why we're talking a little bit about freeping on the moors. It all came about because um, we had basically been hearing a lot of people complaining about how creeps are overpowered, et cetera, et cetera.
And
And we
creeps
kept
running the
on,
moors because they need to be geared.
yeah. And, finally last night, we kind of, we were on the moors and I guess collectively we just kind of went, you know what?
Uh-oh.
So it was science experiment time. So we rolled as a group. We rolled in Valard because our Valars are on sale, the 120s as well. So we rolled in Valard up to 120 new freaks. And mine is called Arrow to the Knee. And he's a high elf hunter. And what we kind of wanted to do was get everybody set up and with the 120 gear and the allies that come with it, the imbued ones, as a group, go onto the moors and see how we fared. Because if we, as Valard characters, I think my morale as a high elf hunter at 120 was like what 95,000 or something, or no wait, yeah, 95,000. Um, and that's when we got moved up to 130, as you do on the moors. But if we could go out there and if we just steamrolled everything, then yeah, the balance was still off. If we completely tanked, then it was the balance may not be quite right. I mean, whatever. So we wanted to see what happened in a nutshell when we did this. So I rolled in Ballard my new Freep on a arc, arrow to the knee, and we decided to go out and run the moors with our new Freeps last night. And it actually went a lot better than expected. And as I'll let some of the others kind of discuss their, more or less what they, I guess the technicalities of it. Um, But needless to say, no, creeps are not overpowered. Um, it's actually a really good balance right now. And there are different reasons for that. But we also, or I also, I guess we as well, we did go creeping as well. Uh, as a matter of fact, I was out alone for a little while and nearly flipped an outpost on my own with Killian, my warg. He's rank 7, working on rank 8. I think if he once he gets up to rank 8 and another rank or two of audacity, he'll be able to flip the outpost on his own, which, is fine. It's an outpost. I mean, I think Terry's warg is what, rank 9?
8,
Rank 8? She's rank 8, and what's your audacity?
20.
Yeah, and she can do it, an outpost on her own. So I'm not that far from it. But I'm really happy about that because it's like that kind of opens it a little bit, you know, something more for me to do as a creep. And I don't necessarily need the whole group there. I can actually slip in and do that and leave, kind of like what apparently the freeps like to do at this point, slip in and then run away after they flip something. Um, and they don't need that many. It's like, there's two of them and six of us, or whatever. But then there, of course, were missions. And I ran Morkendeer this week for some more missions. And yes, this week we also came across the drinking, dancing goblins in Stramvarth. So that was like round 2. But Morkendeer managed to get several cosmetics um, this week from having done stuff. Matter of fact, I hit a cap on currency with the dwarves. That's why I
Mhm.
was like, huh, let me buy some stuff. But I'm working on Morkendeer's last rank with the dwarves, and I think I'm at like level 7 for the deed. So yeah. But Key, how about you? How was your week?
Well, I talked a lot about freeping on the moors yesterday, so that was my first time. And you were talking about the balance there, and there was at one point, and maybe somebody will remember more of the details of what rank they were, but uh, there were one or two freeps who took out our whole group. And now, mind you, we were level 120, and so only so much could be expected.
And
But
rank 0.
uh, oh yeah, and yeah, rank 0. Um, but we also took down, um, we took down more freeps or more creeps than we expected. So having played both sides, I definitely see like the balance. In fact, one of them was a spider, and even though he was a little bit of a higher rank, I still I have a rank 8 spider on Landerville, and you just talk about your glass cannons. So just to even as the spider was taking us out, it gave me hope. Like, hey, I might want to run my spider again sometime because maybe I could survive now, even at rank 8, which is, without, spiders, no matter what rank, I mean, until you got into double digits, you really just didn't run alone. So yeah, the balance there is bringing the creeps up. I think it's good for the game. I can see where maybe they're thinking, well, we want good to prevail, blah blah blah. But also the point of PvP is, you have to balance that within a game, and you have to make it enjoyable for both sides. And if it's so heavily unbalanced, it is you're not going to get creeps out there. You're going to have people just stop playing, like I did with my rank 8 spider, because the person I used to run with all the time, they got frustrated, and they stopped logging in on a regular basis. And the whole point is to for everybody to log in and have fun. So I think the balance is excellent right now. It's a challenge for freeps, and you know, I still feel like Freeps still have an advantage, but it's not huge. It's something that creeps have. They have it's possible with all the your lore masters and your rune keepers getting in there and burning the ground and stunning. That was we would have, and this was a couple of years ago, probably like 3 or 4 years ago, but on Landerville, PvP was very, very active. And we would easily have 50 or 60 creeps out there. And half of us were dead most of the time. And I'm not talking just like us lower rank glass cannon spiders. I'm talking about like, war leaders and things.
Yeah.
So some pretty hardy classes and races out there. So we'd have to go in these huge groups so that when half of us got killed off, there was still a good number to kind of maintain while they ran back, and then the second half would die off. And so it was this constant rotation where, you know, um, where Freeps would just have like 3 or 4 healers in this massive group, and that was enough to keep them all up. So, balance long, long overdue, and it feels great on both ends, quite frankly. I mean, I even on the free bend, I mean, now I feel like I have an investment on both sides, and it feels like it's where it ought to be. Yeah, but and then the rest of my week, I mentioned running for my Starlit Crystals, and ran my first missions today. So,
Woohoo!
yeah, my rune keeper. So, who is Fondue with two U's. So all of my dwarves, most of my dwarves, their names start with an F. So, um, uh, a similar name was suggested by the game because I said, okay, I'm just gonna roll whatever looks at, just kind of doing the random, the RNG name and character design. And just because I knew if I were left to me, I'd take like 20 minutes, 30 minutes to roll a character because I have to have the right name, the right look. I have to have a backstory in my head for all of them, blah, 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 and then kind of come up with an aesthetic for them. So I'm like, all right, if I'm left to my own devices, we'll be here all night while I come up with this character. So I said, okay, I'm just going to random and roll with it. And so Fondue it wound up being. Um, and so ran missions today with a guardian, and very simple. It felt I hate to say it felt easy, but I think it was just a combination of having a DPS rune keeper and a guardian. We just went through them very quickly. So, and I'm really excited. I really need that battle adorned goat. So I needed it immediately.
More
So
missions for
I
us.
mean, I could, there's cosmetics and I could get actual, better gear, but I'm going to get the goat first and then everything will follow. So, all right. And so I think that's it for me. Sanswinda, how about your week?
My week was good. I went roving threat hunting with Maven, Natesh, and Zerok after we tried to run a Reiko run, and Maven accidentally had locks on it and then transferred those locks to the rest of us, and so we couldn't. So yeah, we went roving threat hunting, and that was fun. And I almost ran into the dragon again. It's a lot less dangerous at level 130 though, so I wasn't too scared about it. But that's how I discovered where it was in the North Towns. So that was fun. And then I think we finished the Elder Slate expansion on Tuesday night. I might be wrong. You can correct me. But we ran out of things to do in the war zone, and that was pretty cool. I've got to say though, like, I really don't think Durin was listening to anything that I told him. Like anything. I mean, I know he's an NPC, so he couldn't actually hear me, but like I tried to tell him, and it even told me that my character told him these things that I experienced, like in the Anvil of Winterstith. But did he listen? No. Should he have? Yes. Uh, so yeah, finished round 1 of how to start a war between dwarves. And that's not actually what it's called, but um he's not very bright sometimes. And then I rolled a new Bjorning on Arkenstone. Well, we had been warging, but all the creeps were complaining and trash talking and whatever. So rolled a new Bjorning on Arkenstone to take advantage of the Salem Valars and test for science to see if it was really as bad as everybody was saying. And you know, you got a group of us level 120. We're still wearing our Valar gear too. It looks pretty epic.
Glorious.
Nice work on the design there. It's amazing. But
Glorious.
it definitely is also like a beacon, like has been Valard, bite me. Um, so yeah. So we made a kin, and we are too good to eat. It might not be true. It might have just encouraged more biting, but it was a lot of fun. A little bit strange to see everything from the wrong direction, and to like have the NPCs not shoot at us who should shoot at us, and vice versa. You see the orcs and you're like, oh, orc, oh, you're not my friend. Yeah, about that. Um, but it was pretty fun. Like, we got taken out. We were surprised and taken out by a rank 14 warg, which was kind of sad. But we were rank 0 level skilled characters wearing Valard gear. So, I mean, we can't really complain too much about that. And we definitely took out a few other characters in our travels as we were running around. Especially once we figured out how to like work together and take out their healer. It made taking them out way easier. Yeah, if you're up against defilers, take them out. I mean, or don't, like if I'm the defiler. But it definitely made that easier, and it was kind of, I don't know. I feel like it was a good proof of theory, like a solo level scaled freep was not going to go roll everything by themselves. Even together, we weren't going to go roll everything without a hitch. But that seems kind of like it should be, because really 6 of us level scaled wearing not very good gear without any food or anything shouldn't be able to roll everything. So it was nice to find that yes, we can beat things, we can flip some things, we can do stuff, like even level scaled we're definitely viable, but we are not going to just run roughshod over a crate if it's out, or a rank 14 warg who got the drop on us. That was our bad. We had a hunter with us. We were not using our skills.
Hey, no shade.
No shade, no shade. I didn't even think about the fact that we could track. Well, I'm a hunter. I mean a hunter. I didn't even think about the fact that we could probably track, or should probably track. I was just like, oh look, they're not attacking us. Free for all. And then there was a warg. But
And he ate us.
and he ate us. And we came back. And we came back a few times. And but yeah, no, we took out a defiler and 2 reavers. Without, well, okay, they took us out once, but we took them out twice. So I feel like that worked out pretty well. Like, we just kept running into each other in different places as we tried to be unpredictable in our movements, not realizing that most of us were not anonymous. Yeah, totally not helping with our unpredictability there. But it was fun, and yeah, I was pretty impressed. And so I was really excited to start working on getting things like food and pots, potions, and maybe a few levels and some 130 gear, because I think we're going to be pretty unstoppable pretty soon. So yeah, I'm kind of excited about this, and we'll see. So Terry, how was your week?
Well, yes, we finished the Elder Slate content. At least we finished the story stuff in the Elder Slate. Um, yeah, so Terry Adamant has finished Elder Slade content except for, the instances and the raid, but all the story stuff is done. And so this was yet another week of yelling at NPCs. Not to really spoil anything, but when the NPC tells you to blend in and you look at the screen and go, "What?" And I had a very clear picture of the look that Morkandir must get on his face when the NPC tells him something stupid like "let's go sneak" and then doesn't sneak, and it's just like this really frustrated, pissed off look. Cause yeah, that's the look that Terry was wearing when this dwarf told her, "Let's blend. I'm just gonna go over here. You need to blend in." Yeah, it didn't happen. I didn't even try. I just stood there in the doorway until the boss called it out. Cause yeah, there was, and I could just picture my character like her high pitched like trying to whisper, but being so frustrated it comes out as a what, which totally gives them away anyway. But yeah, so I'm actually kind of glad to be leaving, going back to do something else for a little while. Axley and Company will finally get worse teeth, maybe. Um,
Woohoo!
and I received a Christmas gift of LOTRO points, so I joined in with the rolling of a new character to Valar, who now Arkenstone also has a high elf champion who's been aptly named Well Dressed Killing Machine. But I feel like I should explain this a little bit further. Like other people have touched on this, but I'm totally going to take the blame for this because I'm the one who was snarky with the other creeps in OOC who were complaining about how creeps need to be geared to be on the moors and all this other blah blah. And I'm like, you can just shut up about needing to be geared because okay, so the balance previously pre this update, let me explain how bad this was. Because we rolled group of 6 underleveled freeps that were level 120 but still like below level cap, and we came out with our fresh new baby faces valor gear and took out couple of solo creeps and a group a couple of times. um Prior to update, same group, about half that level scaled into would have rolled the whole thing. I mean, everything would have been blue with that group on the moors, and that rank 14 that took us out. No, they'd have had no chance because we had the Rune Keeper and the 2 champions and the Guardian and the Bjorning and the freaking unkillable bear itself at level scaled 50 prior to this update would have taken
I
out
have to say,
everything.
that was fun.
I mean, it was bad. It was at the point where, as Key mentioned, I didn't want to play my work. I had kind of given up on being in the wars. Like I wasn't even logging in to do turn-ins, which is why my work is still rank 8. Um, and having been creeping and enjoying the fact that we're a little buff as creeps now, um, I got really tired of like I was flat out arguing with people in OOC, which is really kind of dumb of me, but it was, it was Christmas and I'd maybe not been entirely sober at the time. Cuz I didn't we didn't go anywhere, but I live with family and I had to actually interact with them on Christmas Day. And some of my family drives me, I love them to pieces, but they drive me really nuts. And I just needed to get all of that off of my chest. So it comes off in being slightly verbally snarky. Like I don't actually use foul language typically, and I didn't really. I get really snarky in in OOC. And I make very pointed comments which people try to argue but then they sound really even more dumb when they try to argue. So I basically said, don't give me this BS about freeps need to be geared, blah blah. Freeps need to learn their classes because previously they didn't even need to know they could hit 1 2 skills and they'd be done. They'd mow through the group of creeps. Um, so to prove this point is actually why we did this group. Because aside from Sans Window, the rest of us all played because Sans doesn't know the bear a lot. I mean, she knows the bear a little, but she doesn't know the bear a lot. Like the
Yeah, I
rest
was the
of us,
weak link, and I
she
was
was
still almost unkillable. It was great.
because I rolled a champion. Arindis, who mains a champion, rolled a champion. Calabathian, who mains a hunter, rolled a hunter. And while Runekeeper isn't Key's main, she has played one a lot, so she knows the skills very well. And then Cinders rolled a guardian, and she knows the guardian like really, really well. So the fact that we knew our classes and knew what the heck our skills did, um, that plus the communication, plus the fact that the group dynamic was just, I mean, our goal wasn't really to get rank or renown or, I mean, I would kind of like to earn comms so I can spend them for my next rank of audacity on my work, but um, like that wasn't the goal. The goal was to just see what happens. Like we totally went into for science it for fun. Um, and we had a blast. Honestly, I've never had that much fun on the moors as a freep because the last time I went in with Terry, it didn't go so well. Um, I still would be a little leery of taking a solo freep into the moors, even one that I know very well. But I mean, with a group that I know really well, and we know our skills really really well, and are confident in our class. Yeah, absolutely. We got jumped a couple of times and surprised a couple of times, and that rank 14 work was there was no real coming back from that. And ditto the spider. Um, and then the first time we ran into the group, which was the what 3 reavers and the defiler.
Yeah.
Um, Part of the reason why they beat us is because we were kind of all over the place. We weren't really coordinating in voice to pick our targets. When we ran into them the second and third times, we had talked about the strategy. We talked about what we were going to do if we met them again. We stuck to that plan, and they died because you need the. I mean, you need to use more than just 2 skills on your bar and a couple of traps in a stone and be done. I mean, we had the traps in the stone, but we also had the other skills, and we knew what the heck we were doing, and how many. This is fine. Leave it alone. It's good. And all of the free peoples who disagree with me, you can send an email to LOTRO at podcast.com. I will happily deal with any flames we get for me saying this on the air, because I completely believe that all of the freeps who are whining about I need better gear or creeps are OP, learn your class, learn how to get some friends and work together, and then come talk to me on the moors. And then I also rolled a non-Valard Stat Axe Burglar, Nosy, who got through the intro, and I promptly lost track of skills because one of the other things that I did was in 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 the ideal of trying to get all of my characters to where skills that do the same thing are in the same spot. Obviously, you have some skills across the board that are not going to do the same thing, but skills that are generally your main go-to DPS skills, your interrupt, stuff like that. I'm trying to get them in the same spot on the bars so that I can get in the habit of I push this key and it does this regardless of what class I'm playing. Um, which is helped by reading tooltips for classes that I don't know, and just getting the rotations a lot better for classes that I do know. Because I am very much a button masher. I am no shame about being a button masher. So yeah, I rearranged my Berg skills. So for the new Berg, I don't know where the skills are supposed to go, and I have to log into my other Berg and take screenshots so that I have all that information. Oops. Apparently, how was your week?
How was my week? Well, we'll begin with my honor warden who finished up questing in the Blackroot Vale, and then after that, I attended a very awkward family dinner. I'm sure Terry Adwin is familiar with.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, with that little dinner there.
awkward.
Very, very awkward in there. So that means I'm now poised in order to try to rescue someone from some corsairs that have come into the area. Then during the field trip, I was the only one to show up at the field trip this week, though I heard a rumor that about half an hour after I gave up, Sanswinda finally arrived, but
We had a
I
field trip?
I
I thought the
did,
whole
but
thing
there was
was.
nobody there, so I didn't.
No, I thought that we said we were not having a field trip this week. Otherwise, I would have showed up.
Oh, I suppose it might have happened, but I can never remember canceled appointments, right? So,
I was dealing with family driving me nuts.
yeah.
Sorry.
Anyway, I I decided that the midwinter Yuletide midwinter was the perfect time to head out and attend a midsummer wedding.
It's in the center of something, okay?
What's 6 months?
What's 6 months plus or minus,
Right.
okay?
Then for Friday Night Fight, we had a total of 5 that showed up there. We decided to play our mid 60s, though actually low 60s characters. I had a level 61 warden there, and we had a guardian. I think the guardian might have been 65. So we had a little bit of mix on there. We decided let's try running Defense of the Prancing Pony. All right, we went and ran that, and while we were running it, I sort of noticed that we seem to be a little bit on the weak side. I felt like things were being very, very rough on us. So I thought, all right, let's run Gondaman. That is it's not a short skirmish, but it's a relatively easy skirmish. So I thought, all right, let's run Gondaman in there. So we ran that. I ran this one at 61. So we had 2 characters who were at level. We had 2 characters that were above level and 1 character who was a little bit below level. I thought, all right, this seems like a perfect way. We ran into Gondaman, and we had a few deaths in there, but things didn't really get strange until we got to that boss fight. We handled the Drake easily. The Drake was down very quickly, but when we went and fought against that Dour Hand, I think everyone in the group died at least 5 times over the course of that fight. I had never seen that fight to be so difficult in all the time I was playing. He would just, if you go anywhere near him, he would have his aura on you, and that aura was sapping our morale almost instantly. It it was just, what is going on? Because we were just being ripped completely to pieces in that. We managed to get through it and complete the instance. Somehow Matthew did not die in all that stuff. Matthew seemed to have been completely immune to all that mess, but the player characters, we were just torn to shreds. After that, what we did is we ran Thievery Mischief, but what we did is one person had to drop out, so 3 of them ran the small fellowship version of Thievery Mischief, and I ran the solo version of Thievery Mischief. And we want to compare how does this run in there, and it looked like it was a bit rougher than I remember level 60s, because you would think that level 61 it wouldn't be that arduous of a thing. It almost felt like I was taking a level 115 character and then trying to run a 116 skirmish, because you know how that you had that massive jump that happens there. Actually, no, I meant 105 to 106. Actually, is what I meant there. It's like taking a 105 character and going at, and either you just hit 106 and haven't upgraded any of your gear or anything like this, but that's what it felt like. I just didn't think that there was a major jump in difficulty at that point, but that was a brutal night in there. And in the small fellowship version, now I managed to go without dying any, but I think there were a couple of close points in there. I think the small fellowship one did have a couple of points where they did get killed in there. In fact, in the boss fight, I think that one character in there managed to survive the boss fight just to the end because the other two got killed during it. Now, I'm talking all tier 1 and all this stuff, so I thought something happened at level 6. I think at one point they did do some adjustments to difficulty of levels or something like that, and I guess I didn't think about what happened at level 60 there because it looks like 60 must have gotten a boost at that. I just hadn't played into 60 since then. So that was an interesting little experiment on my end there and seeing how things go on the low 60s. And that's it for my week. Our top supporter this month is LOTRObuild.com, and LOTRObuild.com is a collection of full LOTRO databases, including an item database, a relics database, and a titles database. Also, you can use it right from your Discord server with LOTRObuildBot. We currently have 15 supporters on Patreon. If you'd like to join this illustrious raid of players and help support LOTRO players, you can go to the Natures page where you can support the Players Alliance on Patreon. Your money would be used for podcast hosting, website hosting, and to pay for our live shows. And if you'd like to support us without joining Patreon, you can contact Drac at lotraplayers.com. We did not receive any emails this week, but if you like since when, you can send it to podcast at lotraplayers.com, and you can also follow us at Twitter, the Players Alliance at Players Ally, Lotra Players at Lotra Players, Arendis at Arendis, Pineleaf at Pineleaf Needle, Senswinda at Senswinda, Terry Edwin at Terry Edwin, Guarendis at Guarendis, and Calabathian at Calabathian. And Kiosaurus, can they contact you anywhere, or would you rather stay anonymous?
Oh, no, I am on Twitter at Kiosaurus, and my email is kiosaurus@gmail.
All right, thank you. The Players Alliance has two shows on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, BFDDO Players News, and next week, this coming Wednesday, I guess, will be our end of year special where we'll go over everything we did on that show over the last year and go on what our goals we've completed this year and what our plans are for next year. And then, of course, on Saturdays at 8:30 p.m. U.S. Standard Time, we have Lotra Players News. You can switch to our shows at lotraplayers.com/live. And that's all for tonight. And this is Polyp Needles reminding you to skirmish responsibly.